Thought it'd be kind of fun to tell you guys about a story of my first ragtop bug and how I got it. It also involves a Volkswagen Dasher. I just thought it'd be kind of fun if I share that with you. So let's go on back to the past and talk about this ragtop bug. But before I get too far into the story of the ragtop, I have to tell you about the Dasher, because the Dasher is what got me the ragtop bug. So I used to have a lot of people years ago that would tell me about a deal on something. They would tell me, hey, I always had a little bit of money. And a friend of mine approached me and says, hey, I know where there's a Volkswagen Dasher, 74 Volkswagen Dasher, the first year. And the guy only wants $70 for it. And, that was not that old of a car back then. Volkswagen Dasher, that was like in 80, let's say 1981 or 2. And that was not quite a 10-year-old car. So I thought, wow, Volkswagen Dasher, that'd be kind of interesting to check out. I've never seen one before, or I've never really messed with one. I didn't really know anything about timing belts or any of that stuff. I was an air-cooled guy, and at that point I wasn't even a mechanic in a shop. This was even before that. So I'd bought and sold a few things, a lot of Ford Falcons and different cars that I could find in people's yards. I'd pick them up really cheap and then fix them up and sell them. And I did work to them. I didn't just flip cars. I always fixed them up, made them nicer, and then sold them. Made them as good as I could. Try to sell them, get a decent little price for them. So that was my little side gig that I did in addition to my 2 jobs I had at the time. So anyway, the Dasher. So I get the car, and the Dasher has this upholstery is just totally shot. There's just no seat padding. I don't even know how it got that bad. It was a sunroof car, and I drove it and I was like, man, this is all the power this thing has. And one of the things that you'll know on the MK1 Dashers, and even these, the struts would really get bad. And this one here, the struts were so bad that you could push on the front end and you could dribble it like a basketball. I mean, you could just take it and bounce it and bounce it and bounce it until the front wheels would jump off the ground. I mean, they were so bad, there was nothing left on the struts. The interior was similar to this. It had, not tweed, but it was some color, I forget. And when I was younger, I would sew up the seats and stuff like that. So I made seat covers for it, fixed all the inside, painted it. And I did not know how to I didn't have a strut machine. I did not know how to do them. And so of course I left the struts in it and figured that maybe if it looks good, somebody will buy it. And so what I did with that car is I painted it. It was nice, pretty, beautiful red color, painted it again red, and it had all the hubcaps were on it. I had the upholstery looking pretty good, kind of edgy. Wasn't the greatest sew job, but I had the seats all done inside of it, and it just didn't look too bad. And it was a nice looking car, but it didn't have any power. I wasn't sure why. I just thought that's how they were. And the other thing is the struts were really bad. So I put it up for at that time, I think it was $800. I was trying to just get $800 back out of it, and I bought it for $70. So I had about $150 or $200 into it at that time, and I thought, well, $300 was a good profit. That's all I would make back then. I'd make that in a week at my job. So I was happy to make, or in 2 weeks at my job. So I was happy to make $300 on one project, and if it took me 2 weeks to do, that was just extra money. So I put it up for sale, and I just couldn't sell it. I mean, nobody wanted the Dasher. The Dasher was known to be the worst car ever. And you guys in Europe, it was the MK1 Passat. Now, if we had that car today, it would be oh my God, that would be so cool, because there's just none left. and it had a unique body style. It was a two-door. It was kind of cool. But, back then it was just a junker. It was like Volkswagen's first MK1 water cool was like really like a learning curve. Okay. They kept the same design over the years and they got better at it. And even the new cars are all a spin-off, like the 2.0T is a spin-off the MK1 engine. So I have this thing out for sale and I keep on washing it, putting it back out on the street. I used to put them on the corner with this for sale sign on them, and I put them in the Auto Trader, or back then it was the Recycler Classifieds. I put them in there, I put them in all three of those things, and I just wasn't getting any action. And a guy comes up to me one day, calls me on the phone, and he calls up and he says, "Hey, I'm interested in your car, but I really want to trade." And I go, "Oh, okay. Well, what do you want to trade?" He goes, "Oh, I had a couple of guys tell me they want to trade for something, and nothing I was interested in." He goes, "Well, I have a Bug." And I'm like, "Bug? All right. Okay. I'm interested in that." Because I knew if I fixed the Bug up, at least I know I would be able to sell it for a couple $1,000s and I get my money back. So I was most interested in trying to get my money back. And I go over to the guy's house, and what does he have? Nothing more than a 63 ragtop Bug. He didn't say it was a ragtop until I got there. And I look at it and I'm kind of just pretending like I'm like going, "Well, yeah, all right, I guess I could trade for this, And he goes, "Well, the engine in it's rebuilt." And I'm going, "The engine's not rebuilt in the 74 Dasher. In fact, it doesn't even run very good. I don't even know why it doesn't have any power." Well, I found out later when I went to go pick up the Bug, he goes, "That thing needs a timing belt. The timing belt was jumped to tooth." I'm like, "Well, no wonder why it was so slow." And I didn't know how to do that. And he was doing it. He was doing the timing belt. And he goes, "Well, other than that, it seems like a pretty good little car. I can fix it up and whatever." He was happy, kind of. But I got out of there as quick as I could with that Bug, and it was like a greenish gray color, metallic color. It was the paint looked horrible on it, but I knew that I could get my money back by fixing up, painting that ragtop. The only thing about that car that I was scared about when I was younger, rust was a big problem for me, when these days, because you didn't have MIG welders like we do now. And right here in this area, for some reason, this thing was all like swollen. The two layers had rust between them, and it was all swollen up, and you could see they had fixed it with some filler. There was a few issues like that on it. And I was kind of scared of it as far as that goes. I was like, "Oh, wow, I don't know." Well, I knew it was better than my Dasher, so I was coming up on that one. So I went ahead and got it home and painted it. I painted this beautiful, like a buff color. It was like they called it buff. It's kind of a cream yellow color, and I put some chrome hubcaps on it. Actually, it had chromies on it. I think it had chromies on it, and I put some. It didn't have any hubcaps, but it had chrome wheels. I polished them up, cleaned them, put hubcaps on it. And the ragtop worked. The top was still kind of good. It looked like it was a homemade top that was on it, and it looked pretty good that was on it, and it was it was okay. It was kind of a green top. It wasn't the greatest. Didn't go with the color very well, but it was fine. The headliner was even pretty good. I think the seats were even pretty good, pretty decent shape. But back then I was kind of sentimental on my first car, which was nothing. I had painted it orange and I did all this work to it. And this other one I just kind of put together really quick, but it was a really nice looking stock height, had a rebuilt 1300 engine. The guy said it was rebuilt 1300, and it ran really good, and it just got around town really nice. And I was driving it for a while. The crazy thing is I had a hardtop 50 Hodgepodge Bug. It was a 58 body that I'd gotten out of a guy's yard, and a 62 pan, and I put it all together, and the gas tank was all cut out where I put the later model gas tank in it because I wanted a gas gauge. Back then we didn't really care. And I got that car all done, and I got it all done. And the craziest thing ever, and I always wanted another one since, is I thought, well, I don't know about that rust. I just don't know how long that's going to last. I don't know if there's an issue or something. And I ended up selling that car, and I sold it. I was so happy. I got like $2,200 for it back then. And I was like, wow, I had, really come up on that. All my friends were like, dude, keep the ragtop, keep driving. Well, I don't know. It's got this rust, and, it's got a few things that I don't know anything about. And, crazy me. I can't believe I didn't keep the car, and I got rid of it and kept my hardtop Bug when I could have had a ragtop. And I drove it all the time with the top open. I drove it for about 6 months, and I just decided that I wanted to sell it. Isn't that crazy? So anyway, thought I'd just tell you about that. Stupid is as stupid does when you're young. You do some crazy, stupid things, and then you go back later and you go, wow, I wish I had that car back. And that was one that I let get away. Now, I've got a few other stories that I'll tell you. My barn door misses. I had a barn door lined up for $750, and I turned that down. Same reason. Anyway, but and there's more to that story. I'll get back to that one. We'll do some more Volkswagen stories. I thought it'd be kind of fun to start throwing some of the stuff on the channel, and then you guys can make your comments on there, and probably tell your little stories too, and maybe you had similar situation yourself. But I really can't believe I was just crazy enough. As that nice as that car was, and it looked as nice as this car, really, it did. And I just was scared of it. A little bit of rust, and it wasn't even really anything. Somebody else bought it and it was gone. I don't know, never knew what happened to the car after that. All right, well, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and share your Volkswagen stories. Talk to you in the next one.